Okay, so we're going to move to the DDOT trolley trail issue. And I am am I calling on Commissioner Duncan to start this? And then I
Yes,
will.
I'm going to make the motion as the co-chair of the Transportation Committee. Um, so the motion on the floor is to transmit our letter to DDOT in support of the bridge and trail project. Do I have a second?
Second, Commissioner Blumenthal seconds.
So I
Did
think that we are ready for discussion.
Okay, so let me just begin about how we're going to do this. You know, what we're discussing is DDOT's 90% plan for the Arizona Avenue Bridge and Trolley Trail project. And we're talking about the draft letter that's been on our website since last week. Before we start, let me say three things about citizen input. Although we usually are quite generous with time, we expect to have too many people to speak to be quite so generous. So I'm going to enforce the ANC3D operating procedures that are printed on our website. And they say, quote, each speaker should be granted 2 minutes to speak. And they also say, quote, when possible, the commission will utilize a virtual timer to keep time. So you're going to see a virtual timer counting down from 2 minutes on your screen. And again, quote, public comment will end when the chair finds debate repetitive, there are no speakers remaining, or the commission votes to end debate. I expect everybody to be able to speak. Um, Also, you can put comments in the chat. What we want to do with this issue is we'll gather up all the comments in the chat and put them in a document and put it on our website underneath this topic so that it'll be available to the public. So you are welcome to comment on your website, but I'm sorry, you're welcome to comment in the chat, but be aware that it's kind of a permanent thing. It's going to go up on our website. But that's one good way to get your point across if you feel like 2 minutes isn't enough. The second thing is please be as specific as possible. I'm hoping that we're going to show you a map. In fact, you can put that map up at this point. This map is going to be on the website and on your screen, and use it to be specific. The trail is particularly beautiful between points C and D, or is particularly muddy between points E and F. Being specific, this is just a suggestion. You can say whatever you want in any way you want, but there's just one exception to that, and that is Palisades has a long history of civility. We usually work things out by consensus, but whether there's a consensus or not, we are polite to and we are considerate of each other. And I'm asking you now, and may have to insist later, to turn down the temperature on this debate. It's an important debate, but not one that justifies getting personal or using mean language. So I'm going to cut people off if they speak too angrily or claim to know someone else's personal motive for supporting or opposing any part of the project. The debate is about the trail, not about each other. I urge you also, and finally, to listen to what other people have said before you. You're welcome to repeat what others have said. You're welcome to say whatever you want, but at some point in the debate, it may be more productive for you to, speakers on both sides, to agree with a certain prior speaker's point rather than to repeat it. And by all means, you are welcome to disagree with a fact or opinion stated by a previous speaker, but please don't misrepresent what the prior speaker said. Let's make it a debate of honest differences. Okay, so we're going to start with the first person. And Trisha, what's the order for the first two?
So we decided that we were going to call on people in the order in which their hands were raised. So I am going to announce the first speaker and then who's on deck. And just so everyone knows, when you go to unmute yourself, there can be like a 1 or 2 second lag. So give it some time. So first up is Amy DS and followed by Anjum. Amy DS, you are up.
And the timer won't start until you start speaking. So try to unmute and
Ah, okay.
There
Now
you
I
are. There you
understand.
are.
So, thank you very much for this opportunity. I hope I take much less than 2 minutes. I really just wanted to let you all know that for me, paving this trail is a really high impact and practical improvement that I think will really benefit this community. I foresee it really increasing accessibility. It's going to encourage more walking and biking. And I think very importantly, it'll reduce vehicular traffic. That's kind of in line with most transportation and sustainability goals. So I think this is a really green initiative for our community. But on a personal level, I just want to note that I think the paved trail is actually going to offer a really safe, continuous route to allow people to get around Palisades. And this is especially important for children. My kids ride their bikes on the sidewalks when they have to get up to the church or they have to go back and forth, and they get yelled at when doing so. But it's not safe for them to bike on the streets. And so this trail just offers a really safe way, particularly for our children, to get around and reduces their street crossings and their interactions with cars. So I just really wanted to thank you all for your consideration and your support of this project, because I think it's going to be an incredibly valuable public asset that's really going to improve the quality of all of our lives here. So I just wanted to thank you all and just express my support and continued commitment to trying to get this through. So thank you.
thank you very much. Um,
Chairman, up next is Anjum, followed by Andrew Heimert.
very
Anjum, go ahead.
okay. Try to unmute. There you go.
Thank you so much. I would like to use my 2 minutes to just say how happy I am about the improvements that are being made to the trolley trail and why it matters more than it might seem at first glance. So I live on Sherrier Place, right beside the trail. I try to use the trail as often as I can to walk. I will say I try because often it's not possible because it's rained or it's snowed. Walking on the sidewalk is just not the same. If the trail is stabilized, I would be able to walk pretty much every day. I would be able to bike on the trail, including with my children. I also think that improving the trail is a really important investment in a crucial infrastructure for our community. Safer surfaces, better lighting, better signage, those things, they might sound small, but they make a really big difference. They make the trail accessible for everyone, whether it's kids learning to ride their bikes, older adults that are out for a walk, commuters that are using it as an alternative to driving. When more people use a space like this, I feel it strengthens the whole community. And therefore, I stand with the ANC when you choose inclusivity over exclusivity, as you have stated in your letter. I think a better trail encourages people to be active, to spend time outdoors, and to really choose a more sustainable way of getting around. That's the kind of forward thinking improvement that benefits everyone in our community, not just now, but also in the future. I agree with the ANC letter choosing to support the trail. And honestly, I find there's a simple joy to being outside in nature, feeling safe, and using a space that's so close to my home that I've been wanting to use for so long that just hasn't been improved to a level where it can be usable for me and my family. Let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then up next is Andrew Heimert, and there's no one else who's raised their hand.
Okay.
Thanks. I would also like to speak in support of the trail. While I don't live in the immediate Palisades neighborhood, I regularly pass through there, both driving and also on my bicycle. And I wanted to speak really to disabuse the idea of the sort of caricature of aggressive fast cyclists being likely to overwhelm a paved trail in the Palisades. I think that's entirely untrue. For those bicyclists, some might describe them as avid or enthusiasts. MacArthur Boulevard, while perhaps not ideal, is really the most direct route to longer trips, whether out to Potomac or out to Great Falls or wherever it may be. I see little likelihood that those types of cyclists, which I include myself among, will detour briefly off of MacArthur Boulevard, take this trail at rapid speed, only then to rejoin MacArthur Boulevard less than half a mile down the road. I see the benefit of this trail for cyclists being those who are new to the sport, who are learning to bicycle. Maybe they're age 4 or 5 or 6. Maybe they're cautious and they're adults who are just starting to try a bicycle for the first time. And this will provide a safe space for them to try their new skills and gain some confidence. And of course, neighbors in the Palisades who wish to get to the rec center, or as our previous speakers have noted, to go to other destinations within the Palisades, it provides a nice, or would provide a nice off-street option to sidewalks or busier streets like MacArthur Boulevard. So, short, I support it. Hopefully, the commission will endorse the letter that's before it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Duncan, no one else has raised their hand?
No one else has raised their hand.
All right. I will remind everyone that you can still put comments in the chat. Why don't we go to the commissioners to comment on this letter? Commissioner Blumenthal, did you want to go first?
Yes. Give me one moment. Mr. Chairman, I am going to speak in favor of the letter and had remarks, I will be honest, and address the sort of elephant not in the room. Expected our Go Vocal tour, our Go Vocal tool, as well as conversations that we've had for quite some time, have included a lot of neighbors who don't like the idea of paving the trail, and they have clearly opted to not attend this meeting. At least I don't see any, and none of them have raised their hands. But I want to speak to everyone in the community, including those who may not be here. We very much appreciate, I'm sure my colleagues appreciate, everyone who's spoken or left comments on the Go Vocal side. I read them all, and they helped me get a deeper understanding, not just what those of who are most engaged in this debate like and don't like, but just as important, why. So I put a little slide deck together, take a couple minutes to run through. I'm going to share my screen and get to that, which I hope you can now all see. One of the most fundamental worries we've heard over and over is that Mr. Heimert spoke to as well, is that a paved trail will create a bike superhighway, like the Capitol Crescent Trail. And these are comments from Go Vocal, that basically there are too many speeding bikes will create an unsafe environment for pedestrians, the elderly, children, and dogs. I've been asked very often, why do the bikers want this? And I think that's a fair question. Though to be completely transparent, I should say up front, I'm a biker. I've been a daily bike commuter. I was a daily bike commuter for years, now mostly recreational, but I ride a lot. And I understand that to many in our community, I may personify the sort of cyclist that they were able to overrun the trail. That said, I hear, and I think we all hear loud and clear and understand the concerns about too many bikes. And while what I may have to say may not change any minds of those who are not here, I hope you will hear me out as well. This map, or on this map, sorry. The green line is the Capitol Crescent Trail. Just over 7 miles long, it's one of the most heavily trafficked multi-use trails in the United States. And that's because it connects those who live and work in Bethesda to those in DC through a true network of protected bike lanes downtown. It draws at least 1,000 users per day who either commute to and from work or who travel to it for recreation and fitness, place to spend an hour or more riding out and back. In contrast, the bold red line is the Trolley Trail project area. It's just 0.6 of a mile long, connecting two ends of our residential neighborhood to the Palisades Recreation Center. In my opinion, I just don't see many bikers like me being drawn to a trail that's only 0.5 mile long, especially with the Capitol Crescent Trail so nearby. Which brings me to one of the most frequent comments made on our Go Vocal site, and that's the perception that DDOT is undertaking the bridge and trail project instead of a better connection to the Crescent Trail. Some even told us they oppose this project because it does not connect to the Crescent Trail. Well, again, this may not change many minds, but let's be clear. A better paved connection to the Crescent Trail at Arizona Avenue is also coming. It's the result of an active partnership between DDOT and the National Park Service that has been ongoing for at least 7 years, with your ANC and our Transportation Committee advocating for it all along. The project now has a DDOT webpage. You are looking at it, where you can see what it will look like, and scrolling down, see a timeline showing that the project is currently in its final design phase, with construction anticipated to begin 2 years from now. All that said, this project has been subject to incredibly frustrating delays, and that's because it took at least 5 years to complete the hardest work, the mind-bogglingly slow bureaucratic dance of negotiation and compliance that NPS requires. But again, the project is happening. It is fully funded, and when complete, will, I believe, enhance the value of the bridge replacement and the trolley trail improvements we're discussing tonight. Consider the map. To be fair, neighbors like me who live northwest of Arizona will not need the bridge or the trolley trail to reach this new connection, but those who live southeast of Arizona will, for the first time, via the trail, the bridge, the protected lanes in Arizona have a safe and paved connection to the Crescent Trail. So what assurance do we have that these changes won't transform the trail into a bike superhighway? Let's consider the example of the Little Falls Trail, located just a few miles north of us in Maryland. That trail, in red at the top of the map, is a little bit longer, about a mile between Massachusetts and the CCT, but it's otherwise very similar. It parallels and supplements the Crescent Trail. It has an 8-foot wide paved path. It connects to the Crescent Trail in 2 locations, at an intersection here and via a paved path on Massachusetts Avenue. And it connects to neighborhood side streets here and here. To give you a better sense of it, 2 weeks ago, on that beautiful sunny Sunday afternoon, we had a high up to about 78. I took my video camera and a tripod out to both the Little Falls and nearby Crescent Trails and recorded video of everyone who passed me by for exactly 30 minutes at each location. Let's start with a clip from the Crescent Trail. Over the full 30-minute span, I counted 96, whoops, sorry, losing my own screen. I counted 96 bikes, 32 walkers, and 13 runners. That's a lot of bikes in 30 minutes, many going quite fast. The cyclists outnumbered walkers better than 3 to 1. That's what a bike superhighway looks like. Public data shows just over 3,000 people used the Crescent Trail that day, which, given the weather, is about as high, the very nice weather, is about as high as it gets. If you feel like the total volume of bike traffic would ruin, that you're looking at here, would ruin what so many of us love about the trolley trail, let me just say I agree. Now let's look at a clip of the Little Falls Trail. During the 30-minute span, I recorded 29 walkers, 5 runners, 12 bikers who passed me by in either direction. At about that last number, 6 of the 12 cyclists were children, and 4 of the other 6 were their parents. That means there were just 2 adult bikers riding without children compared to 93 the next half hour on the Crescent Trail. I understand that Many of us simply do not want pavement on the trolley trail, period. I hear that. But in my opinion, the Little Falls is an example of what our trail can be. Beautiful, calm, surrounded by nature, with minimal bike traffic, and safe and accessible to all. Finally, oops, sorry about that. Finally, I want to speak to the pedestrian bridge. In debating the trail service, which we haven't done much of tonight, but in the past, I fear we sometimes lose focus of how valuable the bridge is to this community, especially to nearly all of my constituents, those of us who live northwest of Arizona Avenue. Nearly every day when they were little, my children traveled by stroller over the Arizona Bridge to the playground at Palisades Park, albeit in this jog stroller with huge wheels that could navigate the mud. I'm confident that many, many of my neighbors who rely on the bridge, as we have, would want me to vote to preserve and protect our vital, safe passage across Arizona Avenue. For the last 8 years, DDOT has been telling our community that the now 40-year-old bridge is lower than current DDOT standards, is deteriorating, in part due to damage from trucks that exceed the clearance and hit it, and as a result is nearing the end of its useful life. DDOT has also been clear, as we say in the draft letter, that the project is an integrated whole that cannot and will not be done piecemeal. Yet some have told me, and I quote, that's DDOT's problem. Well, with all respect, if our commission were to vote to send that message, it could soon become our problem. If we were to tell DDOT, our mayor, and our representatives on the district council that we expect them to deal with this deteriorating bridge without a paved connecting trail, they have far less expensive alternatives available when the bridge reaches the end of its useful life, namely fencing it off and tearing it down. Here too, I could be wrong. It wouldn't be the first time, but that is not a risk I believe the vast majority of my constituents would want me to make or to take. So I will vote in favor of the draft letter. Thank you for your time, everyone, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner. Is there another commissioner that would like to speak about this?
I'll talk.
Go
Yes.
ahead, JP.
After
Go ahead,
Commissioner
JP.
I'd like to thank Commissioner Duncan and Commissioner Blumenthal for this presentation. It's important that we get this thing funded and passed. Hopefully someday in my lifetime, we will have the connection of this trail to the trail that goes through my neighborhood in Foxhall and eventually to Georgetown. There's been a lot of people that have worked very hard on this. In fact, when this Odyssey started, I was against the restoration of the trolley trestle in Georgetown, and Brett Young changed my mind. So commissioners do change their mind after persuasive arguments, and I was one of them for that. So thank you, and I'm going to vote yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Nowak.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Duncan, Elkins, and others who worked on this proposal. Like Commissioner Simkowitz, I think that my mind has been changed over a period of time for slightly different reasons. If you had this vote up in front of the commission 18 months ago, I think I may have sided with those who wanted to keep the path green and as it was, status quo. But the last 18 months changed me, and that was by putting me in close contact with people who dealt with mobility issues. My mother-in-law died in May of 2025, and then my mother in August of last year. And both of them in the final months of their lives were required walkers to help them move about, number one. And number two, were prescribed by their physicians and caregivers that they get as much sunlight and outdoor time as possible. And those two things were incompatible. The trail, the way it is today, is impossible to use if you have a walker. I assume that's true for wheelchairs, and I know it's true if you have a stroller that doesn't have the big wheels that Commissioner Blumenthal spoke of. So for those reasons, and for the objective of making the trail available to all, I will be voting in favor of the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Elkins?
I have the distinction and maybe honor of being the oldest member of this commission. I'm going on 86 this month. And one of the things I've learned during these 86 years is when you're younger, you can engage in all kinds of exercise, sports, etc. But as you get older, I'm afraid for many of us, the only exercise we get is walking. Boring. It's boring, but that's basically what we have. And I also have learned, because my wife and I walk together, is that you can become more uncertain on your feet. My wife is more uncertain. And what looks like a perfectly good surface in the natural state of the trolley trail to people younger, and certainly me when I was younger, is not a smooth surface for those of us who are uncertain on our feet. And so I would ask that you look through the eyes of older people who want to use this trail. And in fact, it's maybe the only exercise they get. I think Commissioner Nowak's comments are right on point about that. And realize that in its current and natural state, even with the chips and without the gullies, it is prohibitive for people who are unsteady on their feet. And for that reason, I do endorse the idea in the letter of including people as opposed to limiting it. Although I do understand the desire of those who live close to the trail to try to make sure that many of the values that they value now in the trail are maintained. The last thing I would say is when I was young and I fell down, it was like, well, you just got up and picked yourself up and walked along. I'm sorry to tell you that for older people, when they fall, you can end up with a broken hip. I've had that experience. Felt like an idiot, but and for many people who get a broken hip at my age, they never return to activity and they slowly decline. And the CDC will show you the statistics on that. So I'm saying that this is not just a matter of personal preference. It's really a public health issue for providing people in our neighborhood the exercise they need, at least for the segment of the population that I unfortunately represent.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Duncan?
Thank you, Chairman Horn. I prepared some remarks, but I think I'm going to, after reading some of the chat and realizing that the neighbors that are opposed to this are not here, I just want to say I'm really glad we are taping this. I hope that people come and watch our discussion and how we came to this, because emotions are running very high. I have some good friends who are opposing this letter in the strongest ways, and it is it's a strain. But I want my friends to know that for me, and my vote in supporting this letter was not a black and white issue. I wasn't all in. I see it as very, very gray. I use the trail almost every day to walk my dog, and I love it. And he's a leash dog, but he wanders back and forth. And I know that there's going to be some changes coming. But the city is investing millions of dollars into this neighborhood. And I also had people come up to me, call me on the phone, send us emails saying, I can't use this trail the way that it is. There's not a lot of great places for us to teach our kids to ride our bikes, or the gaggle of 8-year-old boys who surrounded me at the farmer's market and were like, this would be so awesome. I see this as a community builder to bring people to and from our park. And so when I weigh the investment of the city and I hear from the neighbors that are excluded from this, my values are almost always going to fall down on the side of inclusivity and saying yes to this trail and the bridge project is inconsistent with my values. So I have heard this before and it was mentioned in the chat. So I would also like to talk about the democratic process. We did listen to all of the neighbors. In fact, much of this letter and changes that were in it came from the comments that we heard. We don't want lights. Um, it was a 14-foot wide path. It's now 8 foot wide. We asked them to leave some grass on the side. The one thing that on my lens of inclusivity I couldn't do was advocate for no trail improvement at all. And DDOT flat out told us they weren't going to do a crushed gravel surface because they installed that one place in the city and it's been a maintenance nightmare and they're just not going to do it. So when it comes to the democratic process here in the city and everywhere in democracy, you elect your local elected officials. And sometimes the elected officials agree with their constituents. And sometimes elected officials, when there are two sides to an argument, vote based on their values. But I don't want anyone to think that this is not a democratic process. We also are an advisory commission. We do not make the plans. We respond to what the city is giving us. And I'm going to look at my things that we also are going to be staunch advocates for is like proper drainage. That is a huge problem on this trail. And rest assured, the Transportation Committee is going to be looking at all of the drainage at the end that's already been engineered. There's a French drain in there. They're not capturing stormwater, they're removing stormwater. This is a huge win for us. I'm afraid if we said no and to all of this, that one day we wouldn't have a bridge. And that wasn't a risk that I was going to take either. And I think that we would be foolish to say no to this kind of investment dollars into our neighborhood. So for this reason, I will also be supporting this letter and I am going to work from here until this project is done to see that it is done to the best possible way that we can. I think you know that everyone on this commission cares about this neighborhood very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Commissioner Cologne Roosevelt.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm going to be voting in support. I think this is an opportunity to make the neighborhood more accessible for everyone, not just people who live here, but people who live around here, for more people to use the trail every day. I also think I agree, like this is a massive investment the city is making in our community, and we really want to work with them at every step of this process. So I do want to tell everyone who is listening to this right now or watching a recording later, if you felt like there was not enough input taken into the process at this point, there will be many more opportunities to work with the ANC on this. And so that's why I'm voting in support. I think this is the first step in hopefully building a lot more options for transportation across this neighborhood and across the city.
Commissioner Simkowitz?
Yeah, I'd like to follow up on what Commissioner Duncan said. If there's any opposition on any resolution we pass, it's incumbent on the person who wants to get their message across to come to our meeting and state their objection on the record. As I said, I was against this in a different part of the trail 8 years ago when we first voted on this, and the debate that we had during the meeting, which was in person, changed my mind. So if you don't come to our meetings and you don't put your statement on the record, the commissioners don't really have a chance to evaluate your position. So because there's nobody else here, we're sort of stuck with what we've heard. But irrespective of this, because my wife grew up on Sherrier and we've walked on this trail, many, many, many times, it's the right thing to do, what we're doing. But I still could have changed my mind if somebody had come here and given a more compelling argument. So please come to our meetings and state your opinion so we have that honest debate.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like, Commissioner Duncan, I'd like to make two friendly amendments, or hopefully they're friendly amendments, and then I'll speak about this. The first one has to do with paragraph that's numbered 7 about the RRFB at Scherer and Arizona. Right now, the second sentence says ANC requests that DDOT carefully study the location of the signs to ensure ample driver visibility. I'd like to add at the end of that sentence, and then install the RRFB signal soon without waiting for the Arizona Bridge project to begin, so that the RRFB is in place before the old bridge is taken out of service. That's the first friendly amendment.
I will accept that as a friendly amendment. I think that's going to be really important because if they take that bridge out, it is going to be really hard for people to cross Arizona without walking all the way up to MacArthur. So we'll push hard for that. Okay, friendly amendment accepted.
The second has to do with paragraph 8, which is about the second bridge ramp. Currently, it ends by saying that we request that DDOT ensure that the new bridge is designed in such a way to allow a second ramp to be installed in the future, should budget allow, without significant reworking the bridge. And I wanted to add, if such a ramp moves forward, DDOT should engage with the ANC and nearby property owners early in the design process to understand and address privacy and other considerations.
Absolutely. Friendly amendment. We'll accept. I think that, I mean, truth be told, they don't want to give us a second ramp, but if they did, I think we need to address the concerns of that neighbor there.
Commissioner Elkins?
I just want to make one more comment about the need for people to come to these meetings. And I suspect that some people feel, well, their minds are made up and, it's just a waste of time. I just want to say that in my experience, I've been on this commission. This is my 10th year. There are many times when I've come into the meeting thinking X, and by the end of the meeting, I've changed my mind because of the comments by people who come to these meetings. And on this particular issue, I've been involved. I was chairman back when we were considering it way back at the beginning. And I don't live in the Palisades. I was listening to all the arguments and trying to make a decision. And at that time, so I really think that this idea that some people have about their government, which is not really true of this commission, that people do listen and they want to hear the arguments and they're trying to make the best possible decision they can because they care about the whole neighborhood and they're not siding with some people just because they're friends or something like that. I mean, people take this a very serious responsibility. So I am disappointed that the people who are opposed to this did not come and try to make their case. And I think that was a mistake on their part. I think it's because I'm afraid it may be because they think our minds were made up. And I think that's unfair. That I think they will find that in many of our decisions that is not the case. And I think that they need to, I would hope they would respect the fact that we're trying to do the best we can and listen as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me speak as a resident and trail user. I've lived here maybe not as long as some of you. I've lived here for 23 years, and that is so far. And I've walked this particular section of the Trolley Trail hundreds of times in all kinds of weather. I know every bit of mud and every beautiful flower and the bunny rabbits that are so often on the trail. I think the Trolley Trail is a great asset to our community. And personally, I like it very much the way it is. It's perfect for me. That is someone who walks the paths along the river and through Battery Kemble Park and down Glover Archibald Park and so forth. I doubt that I'll ever ride a bike on the trail or push a stroller, and hopefully not a wheelchair. Putting asphalt on this very short, and it really is short, 0.6 of a mile, would not be done for my benefit. Instead, it would be done for children and the parents riding their bicycles, pushing strollers, or walking in all weathers to the rec center. Something that just can't be done now. After all, from end to end, this really is a trail to nowhere. I've heard that many times, the trail to nowhere. Exactly. The only destination on this trail is the rec center. There's just no reason for a bike enthusiast to use this as a through trail. It is true that back in 2019, when ANC3D considered and approved this same trail, opponents back then could reasonably worry that it might become a through trail because the DDOT had not decided on the proposal to go from Galena all the way to Georgetown. But in 2020, DDOT rejected that plan, said it wouldn't go forward with that plan. And what we're considering today is simply this small 0.6 of a mile. It's a different vote than it was in 2019. But just to make sure that this trail is nothing like the Capitol Crescent, which does have fast bicycles and often has hardly any room for walkers to get out of the way, I personally pushed hard to reduce the width of the trail from the 10 feet that were proposed most recently to 8 feet with grass on both sides. And of course, it's not just 2 feet of grass, it's going to be grass, as far as it can fit. And DDOT accepted that change. And this accomplishes 3 things. First, for people like me who prefer to walk on grass, the grass will be available. Second, walking on the grass means you don't have to worry about getting out of the way of bicycles because you're already out of the way. And third, an 8-foot wide path necessarily slows down bicycles because they have to be more careful passing a bike that's coming in the other direction. And you can't really pass a slower bike going in the same direction unless there's nobody else nearby. So we've gotten DDOT to narrow the pavement from 10 feet to 8 feet. And if you're asking about some narrower trail, that's just not fundable with federal money. 8 feet is the narrowest you can get. We've got it down to 8 feet. If you're against any pavement, I think this was the best that we could have gotten. If you're for pavement, I think this satisfies the purpose of accessing the rec center. And so I'm going to vote in favor of it. Thank everyone for listening. And if you disagree with me, that is perfectly reasonable. I understand, everyone has a different perspective, and that's okay. Yes, Commissioner Duncan.
I wanted to draw your attention. It seems like we had a neighbor who came late and he has asked to speak. I didn't know if this was following our protocols, but you are the chair.
Okay, sure. Let's do it.
Mr. Sandifer, I do not see your hand raised, but if you want to go ahead and unmute your mic, we'll be able to hear you. It may take a second or two to unmute.
Hello, can people hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I want to thank you all for having the meeting, and I have no idea why people aren't participating. That's their responsibility and not yours. And I want to thank Bernie Horn. He and I have had several email communications over the last several months. And I want to thank you all for your consideration of everybody's comments. I still think that you're playing with fire. First of all, it's missing the whole point of what the bridge-free construction was, to make the park ADA compliant from the bridge. You spent about, and I've been on the whole call, Zoom meeting, you spent 20 minutes talking about bikes. So what you're really putting in is a bike lane. And I'm very concerned that after it's put in, that's going, no matter the width, that people on bikes are going to push people off to the side. You say that you have, and there'll be some grass, and that almost as though people have unlimited ability. I think it was phrased that they can walk in the grass as far as it goes. I mean, even at 8 feet, where I live, I think that at best, because of the contour of the gully, and I'm being, clear, it's probably 2 to 3 feet, which is what was proposed in the rounds 1 and 2. So it's not an unlimited. And when you talk about inclusion, I think it's very exclusionary. You're jamming everybody down a single path. And in some cases, I'm afraid will give some people precedence for having their ability, their claim to the asphalt. But, and that can, with really no other place for people to walk. And you're really throwing people to the curb. There's also no guarantee from DDOT in anything that they've said that what you're proposing they'll do. And also just the water, and you say drainage. We have no idea what they're going to do. They can't even make any guarantee of what they'll do. And they said that in round 1 on the northwest side of the Arizona Bridge.
Mr. Chairman, we've just passed 2 minutes, just FYI.
That's fine. You all did a slide presentation for probably 5 or 10 minutes.
Because we're commissioners, Mr. Zandifer. We are commissioners.
But that's okay. I'm also a constituent.
That's the way it works.
Well, you gave a
there's
nice
a difference
lecture.
between constituents and commissioners. This
You
is
gave a
the
nice
commission meeting.
Excuse
So
me.
the commissioners are going to have extra time.
Can I
And
speak?
the rules were no. Your 2 minutes are finished. We thank you for your feedback.
You need to look at the water issues.
To
It's
continue
very,
giving
very
you time
bad.
that we did not give to other people would be unfair to all of the other people who had 2 minutes. You had 2 minutes and 32 seconds. So I thank you. I would like to respond to a few of the things that you spoke about, and that is because you spoke about that this trail is for bikes, and I think that Commissioner Blumenthal was clear.
Commissioner Nowak, he's muted.
Okay. I think that Commissioner Blumenthal was clear that he was counting bikes for the purpose of showing that bikes would not monopolize the trail, number 1. I think that your comment that this would make the trail less inclusive is just farcical, because Commissioner Elkins and I both gave examples of populations that are excluded from the trail currently. I don't think that there's a concrete trail on the planet that able-bodied people can't walk on because they're being monopolized by walkers and wheelchairs. So thank you for your comments. But to think that we are trying to exclude people by making the trail more accessible just bends reality. I'll yield. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. Are there any other comments or questions from commissioners? Shall we proceed to vote on the amended letter? All in favor? 7 in favor. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.